Disclaimer, this is a video of me reacting to someone else's Five Nights at Freddy's theory. I don't always agree with them, but that has nothing to do with how I feel about them as a person or even their channel as a whole. I have and will continue to make it clear that I am a fan of this creator, and this video is simply me providing my own opinions on their theory. This video is not trying to say that I know better or am better than this creator, it's simply me seeking out other people's opinions so that I can explain the things that I agree with, the things I don't, and so I can understand these alternate opinions whether I agree or not. Anything negative I say or any negative reaction I have towards the theory is just me disagreeing, and I will always explain my point of view. Whether you agree with my stance or the creators, please just be civil towards both of us in the comments. Thank you and enjoy the video. Hey, what's up guys, ImpulseEvan here, and today I'm bringing you guys another video. In this video I'm going to be reacting to Game Theory's newest FNAF theory, FNAF Buried and Forgotten. Now, today and yesterday there's been like 3 new theories that I need to react to, but I feel like Game Theory is kind of like, I gotta react to Game Theory the day it comes out, right? If I have time to, at least. So that's what I'm doing today. This is called FNAF Buried and Forgotten. I'm excited to see what MatPat says here. I'm also a little bit nervous, but it's okay. We'll find out what's going on here. This is 25 minutes, so this reaction video is probably gonna be like 40 minutes, honestly. But I guess we're gonna see what he's gonna say. All right, let's get straight into it. Oh my God, it's the Vani mask. Theory this way. Keep moving. Hi, Mixes. Alright. Oh, hi. Well, that came out of nowhere. Game Theory.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that is definitely the real deal and not a
He's the mimicking MatPat.
Today we begin our journey to solve the most anticipated DLC of the year, Security Breach Ruin. Gotta admit, this DLC has been fantastic. Playing it really felt like Steel Wool learned from their mistakes. Gone is the open world that was big but empty. Gone is the brightly lit neon environments that stopped being scary.
Wasn't scary at all.
The insane glitches that made the game impossible to fully complete.
Yep.
Oh, hey. Whoa!
We are not where we were.
This definitely feels like we've skipped something.
I think we broke the game.
I think I broke the game for like the 3rd time.
That was funny to see.
Maybe not all the glitches are gone, and just so happen to be.
Not all the glitches are gone. All the glitches that stop you from progressing are gone, though. That actually helped him progress, but he skipped one of the most lore-filled areas of the game, which is a little bit depressing for him. That was fun to watch, though. Like, I watched a bunch of different people play Ruin. I watched Johnny Blocks. I watched MatPat and Tom, obviously. I watched Daco, I watched Markiplier, I watched Dan TDM, I watched Jacksepticeye. I watched 6 different people play Ruin. There might be more I'm forgetting. I think it was just those 6 though. So it was fun to see everybody's different reactions to things, and certain things that obviously didn't happen to certain people, like Markiplier having Chica follow you into like the glitched area in chapter 4, or MatPat skipping an entire section. That was really fun to watch.
Beyond my first playthrough, I managed to skip an entire chapter that was filled with the most lore, but hey, consider that my contribution to the
I didn't get like any.
You can call that one the failed lore
glitches,
hunter skipping
really.
my honor.
For the most part, at least.
Achievement in the world of gaming. Just to make sure that we're all starting on the same page, in the game we play as a new character named Cassie, a young girl that's been called to the Pizzaplex by her friend and my personal favorite, maybe definitely robot kid, Gregory. Gregory tells us through a
he's gonna get some people mad now.
Under the sinkhole in Roxy Raceway.
Yeah.
One staff bot jump scare later, and we're handed a quote-unquote security mask, one that's meant to help us bypass certain puzzles while shutting down all the security nodes that are keeping Gregory locked down in the basement. But this, my friends, is not just any mask. This is Vani's mask, the one that Vanessa wore throughout the entirety of Security Breach.
Well, it's not the same one, no.
Darn suspicious. Using this mask allows
it's
us
the one
to
from
look
Help
into
Wanted,
an
not Security
augmented
Breach.
reality system, seeing things that we couldn't see before, making us invisible to certain enemies. We can suddenly walk through walls, deactivate security nodes, intentionally teleport, and as I demonstrated earlier, also accidentally teleport sometimes. Mask in hand, we make our way through the Pizzaplex, shutting down the security and encountering the various Glamrock animatronics from the original game, including the bestest boy Glamrock Freddy, though something's a little different about him this time. I can't quite put my finger on it.
I'm interested to see
Probably
what
the
he's
fact
gonna
that
say
he's
about
missing his
that.
head. All of this
Yeah,
while running from
might
a
be
glitching
that.
bunny entity that'll summon animatronics to our location if we wear the Vani mask for too long. Eventually, we deactivate all the security nodes, including Cassie's favorite glam rock, Roxy.
Cassie.
That was just sad.
Sorry.
This allows us to head on down to the basement where, surprise, surprise, it wasn't Gregory at all. Instead, it was an animatronic. So I told you guys Gregory was a robot this entire time. This
He's
thing
right.
here is the Mimic, a bot designed to learn from and copy other people and robots. And whoopsie poopsie, we've just released it from its concrete
Mostly people.
prison. We run
But
to
yeah.
the elevator to try to escape, only for the real Gregory to finally contact us and lead us to safety. The elevator is ultimately sabotaged by either Gregory or the Mimic, unclear who exactly, that's a theory that we're going to talk about later, and we fall into the game's ending with Cassie's fate being questionable at best. Honestly, there is so much happening in this game. True to form, the fanbase is just tying itself into knots, arguing over all the little details.
Yeah,
Did
a little
Gregory
bit.
actually betray us in the end? What does the word prototype mean on Freddy's foot exactly? And what ending of Security Breach actually led us to this point in the timeline? Well, good news there, loyal theorists. I believe I have at least the first batch of questions answered, and oh boy, if I'm right, this game is drawn from one of the most controversial parts of the lore, while simultaneously setting us up for some massive reveals later this year. So grab your
In
AR
Help
bunny
1 or 2,
masks,
I'm
friends.
guessing?
We're about to see the hidden truth buried within the ruin. Let's start with something simple, something that really sets the foundation for the rest of Ruin. Which of the Security Breach endings is canon? Security
Princess
Breach
Quest,
has had a weird
probably,
relationship with
mostly,
its endings.
kind
Sure,
of.
some previous FNAF games have had multiple endings, some have even had upwards of 7, but none has ever been so vague about what the intended ending was. Of Security Breach's 6 potential endings, there were
No, what's funny is that it was pretty direct in which ending was correct, but then Ruin doesn't follow that one. At least, probably. Because the after ending in the files of Security Breach, or like the music playing in it, or something like that, was labeled as true ending. And then the Princess Quest ending is what we follow in Ruin, so it could be both Princess Quest and after ending, but I don't think so. Or Ruin is not a part of the main timeline and it's like a branch, but I severely doubt that. So it's kind of weird. It is kind of direct, but it's also wrong in its directness. You know what I mean? So
2 that felt like real contenders for being the canon choice.
Yeah.
The so-called true ending, 2-star ending where Gregory goes into the Pizzaplex's
Apparently
basement
not
to
true,
fight
though.
Burn Trap, ending in a collapse of the entire building, and the Princess Quest ending. The only 3-star ending of the game where Freddy's dismantled by staff bots and Gregory defeats the glitch trap virus controlling Vanessa. So now that Ruin's out, which actually happened? Well, we could say with near 100% certainty that it was Princess Quest.
Yep.
You see, Steel Wool did something that I would have never expected. They made the comic book style drawings of all the Security Breach endings into the linchpin of the whole debate.
Are we collecting the endings from Security Breach as comics?
Yep, throughout Ruin, one of
Yeah.
our main collectibles.
I like
are
that.
comic
That was-
strips.
that was
Comic
kind of
strips
like a
depicting
fun
images from the base
way to
game's
do it.
various endings. Comics that were created by none other than.
It's one of Gregory's comics.
Each comic comes with a little descriptor like that. These look like Gregory drew them. Gregory should be an artist when he grows up. Gregory was always so creative. That last line about Gregory being creative, that tells me that these endings are all made up. They're just stories that Gregory imagined for his own little comic series, inspired by the scary true-to-life events of the franchise. But if they're made up, then how do we know that the Princess Quest ending is real? Well, once you collect all of Gregory's comics, the answer is pretty obvious. Take a look
It's
at
the
this.
only one that
These
doesn't
two
have
are from
them.
the Gregory Escapes ending. These two are from the VIP ending.
Mm-hmm.
These are from the loading dock ending. This one is from the disassemble Vani ending. And then last but not least is the Burn Trap ending panel. Seems like a pretty extensive list, right? Except there's one ending that's noticeably absent here. Princess Quest. There isn't a single comic strip in all of Ruin depicting that ending, implying that that one, unlike all the others, was real. And if you look around at the rest of Ruin with this in mind, you start to realize why. In the Princess Quest ending, you have to beat the Princess Quest 3 arcade machine that's in Vani's hideout.
Yeah.
But when you visit that same
And then it
hideout
has the
Ruin,
sword
you
in it.
find the machine on its side, with the princess's lantern sitting on top of it. She has conquered the virus, lighting the way to freedom. And if the lantern wasn't obvious enough symbolism for you, when you
There's a
put
sword
on the
in
Vani
it.
mask and enter the AR world, you'll see the sword from Princess Quest 2 and 3 plunged into the machine. The beast has been slain. Actually, the fact that Cassie's given the Vani mask in the first place also lines up with this ending, because it's the only ending where we actively see the mask getting left behind. It's actually
I do not agree with that, because it's not the same mask. The mask in... This is the mask from Help Wanted, and the mask in Help Wanted and the one in Security Breach are two different ones. So that's more... The one in Ruin is a recreation of the one from Help Wanted. It's not the one from the Princess Quest ending. It's not the one from Security Breach. While the Princess Quest ending is definitely canon, at least in some way, the mask itself is not from there. That mask is somewhere else, probably like thrown away or stolen or something like that. I don't know. But it's not the same mask.
The big focus of this panel right here, showing us that the mask being left behind is significant. It's still waiting around for someone, in this case Cassie, to find it and become the new Vani. And then, last but not least, there's the fact that in Ruin we come across Freddy, sitting in a pile of rubble, missing his head. Something that, again, only happens in the Princess Quest ending. So, with our canonical ending established, let's just stop right there to talk a little bit more about Freddy, shall we? In Ruin, we come across this headless Freddy, but it's unclear whether it's meant to be our Freddy from Security Breach or not. You see, this Freddy has the word prototype written across his foot, something that is definitely not present in the base game. He also has a green present hiding in his stomach, something that's awfully suspicious once you consider Security Breach started with Gregory taking an orange present out of Freddy's stomach. This can't possibly be the same robot then, right? This is one of the big debates that's captured the attention of the fan base. If the Princess Quest ending is correct, then it kinda has to be the same Freddy. It'd be very highly coincidental if not. So how then do you explain all these new features? Well, first, I think it's important to call out that design updates between games, it is nothing new for this franchise.
That's
Probably
fair,
the best known example of this is the evolution of Springtrap in FNAF 3.
The difference is, though, that in all of whenever there's a redesign, it's always either for a reason or it's relatively minor. And I would say that the Freddy one is kind of minor, but like I feel like it's kind of random to include the prototype thing. I still don't have like a definitive answer on whether it's the original Freddy or not. I can see the arguments for it being Freddy, and I can see the arguments for it not being Freddy. So I can see it going either way, honestly. My personal opinion on it is that Freddy, it could be like that Freddy isn't. People have been saying that Freddy in Security Breach was always a prototype, and it was just like painted over. I don't agree with that. I feel like the most likely option is that Freddy isn't a prototype and this isn't a prototype Freddy, but that this is like sort of more of a meta clue, if anything. That might be kind of like a cop-out, but it matches up with the fact that Glamrock Freddy is always heavily associated with Golden Freddy and Fredbear, right? In like the fact that there's the Golden Freddy plushie, there's the fact that he sometimes is just a head, and there is the fact that he can have a purple bow tie, right? And then there's the glowing neon signs of the animatronics, and Freddy's is yellow and purple, just like Fredbear. So I feel like since Freddy is heavily associated with Fredbear, the fact that the Bonnie plushie, which is golden, is labeled as a prototype, and the Fredbear connected Freddy, it has a prototype on his foot. I feel like that's trying to like be a sort of hint at like Fredbear and like Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. Maybe even trying to hint more at like the idea of Fredbear's being FNAF 6 since it's under the Pizzaplex, but that might be a stretch. But I feel like that's sort of what it's trying to allude to. It could have a meaning in universe. Maybe Freddy could be a prototype, but I don't feel like that makes a whole lot of sense. But I do understand where the theory comes from. Anyway, I'll get back to what he's saying.
3 to Scrap Trap in FNAF 6. William Afton's basic anatomy, it is nothing alike, despite it being the same dead body in the same rotten suit. Even in this game, Candy Cadet, complete overhaul.
That is absolutely true. It is like similar, but it is a different design. Obviously, it's the same Candy Cadet though. I will say about Springtrap and Scrap Trap though that there is a reason why they're different. It's because of like the whole probably the remnant thing, and also the fact that he like rebuilt himself, right? So that does have an explanation. Candy Cadet, on the other hand, doesn't really.
All between his first appearance and now. Or just take a look at any of the other animatronics. Their endos are real different to the ones at the end of Security Breach.
Not
and yet,
really.
Each and every one of them has suffered the exact
different.
same damage that they did in the previous game. But one detail that can't be replicated is something that I think a lot of the community has started to overlook. Something that can't be denied. And it all relates back to the Vani mask. We're told that this mask is known as the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration Unit, or Vani. As the name implies, it allows us to use augmented reality to physically see and access the neural network, that's just a fancy name for AI, controlling the Pizzaplex. Throughout the game,
and Freddy's
we use
not part of it.
To make fences disappear,
I'm
access
assuming that's what he's
security
gonna
nodes,
say.
and teleport from location to location. That much is obvious. What's less obvious, though, are how the various endoskeletons behave while we're wearing the mask. As we pass most normal endoskeletons in the game, we see them wrapped in swirling pink code. This shows that they're connected to the network. They're being powered by the AI system in charge of the Pizzaplex. Now, when Cassie has the Vani mask off, they'll start chasing us. That's because we're suddenly visible to them. We're just a kid. We're a target. But notice what happens as soon as we put the mask on. They stop chasing us. Instead, they go back to what they were doing before. We've disappeared from them because we're integrated into the AI system. We're no longer a kid. We've become one with the code.
But Freddy, on the other hand, just disappears. He's not part of the
network. Let's
network.
get back to the topic at hand, our headless Freddy in ruin. Unlike every other animatronic, when we put on the mask around Freddy, not only does he stop chasing us, he outright disappears. We can't see him anymore. And likewise, he can no longer see us. Why? What makes him so different? What is this trying to tell us? Well, if the Vani mask jacks us into the Pizzaplex's AI system, his disappearance tells us that he's not a part of that system. He is not swirling in pink code because he's removed from the Pizzaplex's network. How'd that happen? Well, we saw it at the top of Security Breach. Freddy glitches out and has to be rebooted in safe mode. That's why he's friendly to Gregory in a way that none of the other animatronics are. He's no longer under the control of the AI network controlling the Pizzaplex. In a sense, you could say he's thinking for himself. And we see this continue throughout the entirety of Security Breach. Whenever Gregory sees Vani running around, Freddy states that he didn't see anything.
You didn't see the dancing rabbit lady right in front of us?
No, I did not. There is no rabbit at the Mega Pizzaplex. Not anymore.
Vani is very clearly real, but she's wearing her mask, thereby making her invisible to the one robot that isn't a part of the wider AI system. That only changes when Freddy is equipped with Roxy's eyes.
Yes.
Roxy's eyes in that game were a part of the AI system, which is why that upgrade suddenly allows Freddy to see things that were formerly invisible to him. He's seeing everything that's a part of the AI network, and that includes Vani.
Vani, I can see you now.
My one question about that is, I'm not disagreeing or anything, but my question about that is, in that case, can Vani see him even if he doesn't have the eyes? Because I feel like she probably could, but I don't remember if there's anything that actually says that she can when he doesn't have the eyes. I don't remember. So maybe she can, maybe she can't. I'm just trying to, let me know in the comments, because like maybe she can, maybe she can't. I just don't remember at the moment. So like, let me know in the comments, like to just remind me if there's anything that actually says that she can or can't.
This one detail is why I feel that ruined Freddy here has to be the same as our best boy from Security Breach. This is a Freddy that has been removed from the system, one that was rebooted in safe mode, taking him offline.
I don't think that he's an actual prototype, though.
That he has to be connected to the Freddy from the original game. Weird Freddy curveballs aside, though, this game makes it abundantly clear that I was right on the money with my last few theories about how AI is now the major focus of the series.
Yeah,
and
with the mimic.
Specifically, AI programs that have been corrupted by Glitch Trap, Afton's old evil data, hence why everything is wrapped in this purple or pink code. Well, everything except for Roxy. Instead of being made out of purple code like the rest of the animatronics, she instead has sections of her body made up of green code, specifically around her face, her arm, and her foot, making her look a lot like she did at the beginning of Security Breach. It's strange, right? But it actually ties into our previous theories. This neural network controlling the Pizzaplex isn't just influenced by Afton. According to the books, the AI program was originally built to play with Charlie, a girl that wore a green wristband in order for the security puppet to protect her. That's why we see Tiger Rock, the book's manifestation of this same AI, with two colored eyes. It has evil and good data inside of it, and different animatronics are tapped into different amounts of that same code. That's why Roxy is surrounded by green code that makes her look like she was originally supposed to. Green is the color of protection, of safety. Her influence is now putting green markers over the parts of the system that are good.
Okay, what I have to say about that is, I've talked about the Tails games thing a lot of times, so I'm not going to go over it again. But the thing about that is that the glitch trap virus is the mimic virus. Whether it includes good or not, it's still part of it. So when Princess Quest happened, the virus was destroyed, leaving the mimic in the basement, and he was just, now he like reverted back to what he was doing in Tales from the Pizzaplex, like in the epilogues. So what happens in Princess Quest causes the virus, the whole mimic program that was spread throughout the Pizzaplex, and the glitch trap virus that was infecting all the animatronics to be destroyed. Meaning that since the mimic isn't inhabiting the Pizzaplex anymore, except maybe partially in the Vani mask and in the basement, then that means that the mimic isn't affecting these animatronics anymore, which is also heavily implied by the fact that Mixes, which is meant to be keeping the mimic at bay, is sending the animatronics after us. So why would the animatronics that were infected with glitch trap try to stop us, who are trying to help him, right? The entity that is glitch trap. So that's why I don't really agree with that. I feel like it's just trying to show that it's just trying to show her as being, like, repaired again. Now that she is, well, now that she's destroyed, she's just being shown as being repaired again. Like, can green be the color of good? Yes. Does it have to do with Charlie? Kind of, maybe, but probably not in this case, in my opinion. But can it, but, like, is it the color of good? In some ways, it very much can be, and it can be what's trying to be implied here, but it's not doing so with the actual program itself.
This duality is actually best exemplified by, believe it or not, the daycare attendant, Sun and Moon, or Eclipse, as they're known when fused together. Since the beginning of Security Breach, this thing's presence in the game has always felt very random. Like, why is he here? Just to be another scary thing to chase us around? Maybe, but that doesn't tend to be how these games work. And why would they choose such a random design of being both light and darkness, Sun and Moon? Well, now we know. In one of Ruin's many lore-heavy Easter eggs, if you go up to him with the mask on while there's only one generator left to activate, you'll hear a new line that states,
No! It's not safe yet! Turn on the other generator!
Clearly, Eclipse is conflicted. One half wants to protect you, but it's getting shut away by the darker, more sinister half. He is good and evil combined. He represents both codes competing within the same body. Other animatronics are more of a sliding spectrum. Some are more corrupt than others, but Eclipse represents the balance that naturally exists within this neural network system, which leads us then
That's
to the
fair.
end
I've
of the
always
game.
thought like the daycare attendant, it was more about like the Vani and Vanessa kind of thing, but like I can understand where he's coming from in that case.
Gregory is actually the one trying to kill Cassie in the final moments is a theory for another day. Instead, I'd rather focus on this, the Mimic Tunnels. At the end of the game, we're chased by an endoskeleton known as the Mimic, a robot that's able to learn from and copy other creatures. But even before we get to the elevator, Gregory tells us his friend, presumably Vanessa, has these plans for the underground tunnels.
My friend has access to the building map. Just follow instructions.
But what are the tunnels? Why are they here? Who put them here? These tunnels aren't just random. Someone has been down here before. They've installed lighting and an elevator and everything. We also know it wasn't Gregory and Vanessa because they're on the opposite side of the room that the Mimic was locked in, the Pizzaplex side, complete with the mixes system. We also know that these tunnels weren't just part of the FNAF 6 location because the game makes it a point to show that we're a number of floors far below that building. It tells us that this location has to be older than the FNAF 6 pizzeria. So again, I ask, what are these tunnels for and why are they here? Well, the clues to finding that answer are hidden in the Mimic's room.
Well, it might not have been before the FNAF 6 pizzeria because it could have just been like during the Pizzaplex era that all this was being like dug out and stuff. It very well may not have been before FNAF 6. There's nothing, I don't think there's really anything suggesting that it specifically has to be before FNAF 6. It's definitely not a part of FNAF 6, or at least probably not, since it's like kind of disconnected from it, but it could have been after FNAF 6 still.
Normally you wouldn't be able to see any of this stuff. You break down the wall, you enter a cutscene, and the Mimic starts to chase you. However, at this point, Steel Wool understands that the internet gonna do what the internet gonna do. We're gonna rip into the files, we're gonna free cam our way all across these maps, and we're gonna crank up the brightness hunting for clues.
Yes.
And sure enough, there is a lot that's hidden just out of sight. Inside the Mimic's room are two costumes, a grandma bird and an elephant clown. There also seems like there's supposed to be a third costume, a lion wearing a varsity jacket, but that one I was only able to find in the game files. That said, in one of the game's secret endings, the Mimic wears a costume that's kind of a mix of all three of these things, so that's the evidence that we need there. And overall, it's a pretty interesting find. We know from the books that the Mimic is a fan of wearing costumes. In the Mimic story, as well as the Pizzaplex epilogues, we know that the Mimic mainly cycles between two costumes, a mushroom and a jester. In the story, Edwin, our parallel for the game's Henry,
he kind of just wears any
those costumes into animatronic.
Okay. He kind of just wears any costume. I'm just gonna disregard what he said there, and I'm just gonna keep going.
Edwin, our parallel for the game's Henry, was responsible for turning those costumes into animatronics for Fazbear. And that right there, that's an important detail. You see, the books make it clear that those costumes came from a time before Edwin made Chica into the first animatronic. In other words, these off-branded characters like a jester and a mushroom predate practically everything else that we see in the games. They come from a time before the core lineup of characters was officially decided. When Edwin disappears after the death of his son, Fazbear Entertainment goes to his abandoned home and reclaims all of their property. The Mimic, the costumes, everything. Think this is only specific to the books? It's not. I suspect that we've been hearing about these costumes ever since Night 4 of FNAF 3.
Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected.
But that's not all. On your way down to the FNAF 6 location, we find ourselves in a massive cave system full of bioluminescent mushrooms.
I don't really think that that's... I mean, it could be suits like that, but I don't think it's specifically those suits. Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say. Okay.
Waterfalls. walls. This immediately
Twisted
felt
ones.
weird to me. I mean, it is the first time that we've ever been in a place like this, a place that is outside of a building location in this franchise. So why now? Why this particular setting? Why such a beautiful cave with such specific details?
Twisted ones.
It's odd because we've never seen anything like this in the entire series. Well, almost never. In the second novel, The Twisted Ones, as a friendly reminder, that's the one where the main character gets vored by an animatronic in the end. Good memories had by all. When Charlie awakens from being trapped inside one of the twisted animatronics, she finds herself inside of an old Freddy Fazbear pizzeria. As she explores, she too discovers a cave system with, wait for it, glowing mushrooms and a waterfall. What does it mean? Well,
Yep.
the more I looked into it, the more I realized the strong parallels between Ruin and the original novel trilogy. In both
I've
cases,
noticed
we
those
follow
too,
a young
yeah.
girl who's looking for a boy the same age as her.
I've noticed those with not only Ruin, but also just with Security Breach itself. And in my opinion, more so Security Breach, but it does it with both of them in two different ways.
That goes missing. She finds an old pizzeria buried below a mall, and when she goes down there to where she believes the boy's calling from, it's revealed to be a trap. Am I saying Cassie is Charlie?
No.
I might one day, but for now I'm
Let's-
still mulling that one over. But
Yeah.
I do think that there are clear connections between this game and those books that are directly being called to our attention. And what's the
I do
primary
agree with that.
location for the final book in the series? The location where this story finally comes to its ultimate conclusion? Circus Baby's Pizza World. Look again at the costumes that we see in the Mimic's room. An elephant clown and a lion. Both animals that are commonly
Is it even a clown?
associated
It's literally
with
just wearing a
circuses.
hat.
The grandma bird actually looks a lot like a crow to me with its wide yellow beak and its dark blue coloring, which again reminds me of the Disney film Dumbo, another circus-based film that stars crows and an elephant attraction. The elephant is even wearing a clown outfit, for crying out loud.
It is?
It is practically screaming at us that these costumes
I never
were
really
designed
saw
to be
it as that,
mascots
but
for
sure.
circus babies. It's why when they were brought into Fazbear's as backup costumes like Phone Guy said, their relevance was questioned because Fazbear never had a circus theme or revealed any of these sorts of characters.
What I would say about that is that I don't think that Circus Babies existed yet, so I don't think that could have been the case, because I think Circus Babies was following FNAF 1, maybe even 2 and 3. I think that Circus Baby... sorry, no, I think... sorry, what I meant was, I think that Circus Babies was following the first Freddy's and maybe even the second and third. Meaning that I don't think that Circus Babies existed early enough in the... It could have, but I don't think Circus Baby existed early enough in the timeline that those characters could have been from Circus Babies.
They were Williams from a long time before. But that's not all. Throughout Ruin, there are secret plush baby rooms where the dolls troll you, and a whole suite of plush baby
I find those
AR
interesting,
collectibles
yeah.
that specifically call out how weird it is that these things are here. This is Fazbear, not Circus Babies. There is no reason to call out all of these parallels unless it is specifically to call our attention to Circus Baby. These locations are connected.
I mean, maybe, but Circus Baby is a part of the Fazbear brand, because, well, she appears in FNAF VR, and the plushies are obviously marketed, so I feel like that's not really trying to say that she's not part of the Fazbear brand, because she's in Bonnie Bowl too. Like, they're in Security Breach, there's the Bonnie Bowl, like, the staff bots at the ice cream parlor, which are Circus Baby designed. Circus Baby is definitely a part of the Fazbear brand, so I don't think that's really what that's trying to allude to.
Connected somehow. But the final nail in the coffin for me comes thanks to one of the secret endings in the game. After
The
the
scooper,
mimic
yeah.
chases you in costume, you end up in a locked room where you hit a big old red button and a claw-like machine comes down from the ceiling, grabs the mimic, and defeats it, at least for now. And what's that ending called in the game files? The scooper ending. This
Yeah.
thing right here, it is a scoop. And where's the only other place that we've ever seen a scoop used? Circus Babies, an underground bunker that you can only access via an elevator. Oh wait, that describes exactly where we are. Now, remind me again what game is coming out later this year? One that has a trailer
Help
starting
Wanted
in
to.
the sister location elevator. One where we see a very familiar security panel from Ruin down in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
Help Wanted 2, the second VR game. The Mimic has been
I'm
around
so excited for
much,
Help
much
Wanted 2.
longer than any of us suspected. And we're gonna find out more about him in the next VR installment coming this winter.
I'm not quite sure that the Mimic would really be as relevant in Help Wanted 2, because, like, it very well can be, but I feel like it would be more so about Glitch Trap. Could it have hints towards the earlier games and stuff? Yeah. But I'm not sure that, like, towards the Mimic in the earlier games, and, like, the earlier parts of the timeline, yeah. But I'm not sure that it would, like, I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be the minigames of, like, probably FNAF 4, 6, and 5, sister location. So I don't think that the Mimic would, like, it really has all that much to do with sister location itself, but I feel like the whole idea behind learning about the Mimic in Help 1 and 2 is definitely interesting. It very well is possible. It probably will be the case, but I don't think it will be exactly in the way that he's trying to say.
This has all sorts of implications. For one, the parallels between the Mimic and Ennard are undeniable. An animatronic that's an amalgamation of a bunch of other animatronics. What makes this one even more interesting is that the books just
voice
confirmed
Mimic
all
is
games
kind of like
up
the only
through
thing.
FNAF 6 as being games in universe of the Pizzaplex. So was Ennard just a fictional version of the Mimic the whole time? Again, that's a theory for another day.
No.
But more importantly, this actually has some massive timeline implications as well. Part of the reason it always felt tough for me to place Circus Babies into a timeline is because it closes after the death of Elizabeth. That always felt like a good starting point for Afton to then begin seeking eternal life and to put people back together. But what didn't make sense is why Baby would have a claw mechanism in her chest to capture kids. Afton wouldn't need to capture kids until after he had lost his child. But if Circus Babies was actually much earlier in the timeline, like these old costumes seem to suggest, things start to fall into place. Henry was the initial robotics genius. Afton just had the ideas and then gave them to Henry to turn into animatronics, like what we see with Edwin in the Mimic stories. I always brush this little detail off as confusing, but before the release of Sister Location, we got this ending from FNAF World, where Henry sits at a desk talking about the evil that he created before he unalives himself, just like what we see him do in the novel trilogy. At that point, we see a pair of glowing eyes, and Baby's voice calls out,
"Everyone, please stay in your seats."
This all implied that Henry was the creator of Baby, not William, despite Afton's name being the one on the copyright. But now I think we have an answer that solves all of this. William went back to collect his costumes after Henry's disappearance, just like what we see happen in the books. When he does this, he also finds the Mimic program, deciding to use its programming and technology for his own creations, the Funtime animatronics, who can do what? They have the ability to mimic voices. We see Baby
Only
do the
Funtime
exact
Freddy
same
does.
thing in Sister Location when she mimics the voice of Elizabeth to try and lure money.
That's only Funtime Freddy, and that's because he's a part of Ennard. So that's how she's using that voice mimic. So it's not really just the Funtimes in general, it's just Funtime Freddy.
Michael to his death. I suspected in my last theory that Baby was still at play here. That's why Tiger Rock's eyes are blue and green, Elizabeth and Charlie. And given everything that we just talked...
Here's the thing about that. I discussed this last time, but Elizabeth has green eyes. Circus Baby used to have blue eyes, but if it's Elizabeth and Charlie, then shouldn't it have Elizabeth's eyes, not Circus Baby's? And Circus Baby mostly has green eyes either way because it's possessed by Elizabeth. So wouldn't both be green in that case? I don't really think that that connection is very strong.
Talked about today, I have no doubt that this is still very much the case. How it's gonna play out, though, we'll have to see in FNAF VR 2 later this year. Obviously, there's gonna be more to cover here in the coming weeks, specifically about Gregory, Cassie, and Cassie's dad, but more on that one next time, because in the meantime, remember that our brand new line of merch just dropped today. In the meantime, remember, my friends, it's all just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Alright, well, how do I feel about this theory? I think it's definitely interesting. I can agree with most of, like, the first half or so. After that, I can... it's a little bit questionable. I don't really think that the costumes would have been the original. It could have been costumes like that were used as, like, the backups for the spring locks after they were discontinued. I don't think that they're from Circus Babies, and I don't think that Circus Babies is that early in the timeline. And I don't think that... I don't believe in the whole parallels thing. I understand, like, where it comes from, but I don't agree with it. And the Tiger Rock thing with the two different color eyes and the Elizabeth and Charlie connection, I don't really agree with that, but I can, like I said, I do understand where these ideas come from. I just don't agree with them. But that's just me. If you guys agree with them, let me know in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. And let me know how you feel about MatPat's theory. But I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!